Well, YouTube, I guess you're at it again. Hello, my YouTube audience. I don't know what to call you yet. Other YouTubers seem to, call their audience something, and I'm just not there yet. But I'll think of something, and maybe you can help me. You're not here to hear about my channel and my future plans. By the way, there are other things in the works, so for the people who do watch me consistently or look forward to whatever I have, there is stuff that's being worked on. But I had to take my attention away from that, and not only that, I'm working on other stuff for real life. That's really important, but I said that in the most obnoxious way. It was really important. Anyway, but after hearing about this, I had to make a video right away because this is really gross, in my opinion, what YouTube is doing. So many of you may know the YouTuber Philip DeFranco. Philip DeFranco is a YouTuber who is not in favor of political correctness, and many times, he speaks out against SJWs and radical feminists, but that doesn't mean he's not an anti-feminist either. He's just a reasonable human being, and not saying anti-feminists aren't reasonable. What I'm saying is that he's just someone who looks at these modern-day feminists and thinks, that's bullshit. What happened was in his latest video, he posted a video about SJW, this specific SJW, who is harassing and berating her driver who she hired through the service Lyft. I've actually never heard of Lyft. I've heard of Uber, I haven't heard Lyft. I'm an old lady, I guess, and a young woman. This woman, the way she treated that man was disgusting. And she's getting offended over the fact that in his car he has one of those Hawaiian bobbleheads, which is ridiculous. She claims that it's cultural appropriation. And then, it's just a mess. And she was there claiming, I'm going to put this on social media and make you look bad. But no, honey, you made yourself look bad. So that's what he posted a video about, obviously criticizing this woman, labeling her what he calls the douchebag of the day. Every day he has a douchebag, or every time he makes a show, he has the douchebag of the day, and she was the douchebag for that day. And what did YouTube think of this? According to them, this does not meet community standards. This is offensive material, and their advertisers will not be advertising on this video, so he can't monetize this video because of the offensive content. What YouTube is trying to do is to make it so that the content of your video, if you say something we find offensive, and I don't know who's making these decisions and who's the grand arbiter of what is offensive and what is not offensive, but if we, the company, find what you say to be offensive, we will no longer allow you to monetize your videos. Now, this is something that I detest. This is not a defense of YouTube, but I will say legally, they do have the upper hand. By the letter of the law, they are a private company. They are absolutely allowed to do this. Morally, I think that what they're doing is repulsive. Even if they had good intentions and they're trying to do the moral thing by defending a group of people, which in this case it isn't a group of people, but in the past when they have censored people, and let's say it's a legitimate situation where, someone actually is being racist or overly derogatory towards another person who doesn't deserve it. Even in that case, where it immorally seems like YouTube is doing the right thing by enacting some sort of punishment against the person who's making the offensive comments, it still has a very chilling effect on the rest of the community. And here is actually the consequence of that. Now, it may start with silencing people like Avalion. It may start like that. But soon, it happens to people for things that are seemingly non-offensive, they will suddenly be labeled as offensive. Because we have to get more and more careful. We become more and more sensitive. And once we're willing to stop someone's speech because we find that, and we all maybe agree upon, that that's something that's awful, nasty, to say, once we do that, it just makes it that much easier to silence people in these cases where their speech wasn't even being hateful, where it wasn't even unfair criticism of a person. What Philip DeFranco said was fair. I've seen the video. She is acting in a morally reprehensible way, and he is using his voice to call her out on her inappropriate and childlike behavior. And not only inappropriate and childlike, it's also incredibly entitled, where she is mistreating the man who is providing a service for her because of some sort of bobblehead that he has the right to put on his dashboard. Think about it this way. A man criticizes a woman, not that their genders matter, I'm just using that and just to describe their personhood. A man criticizes a woman for being a horrible human being to another human being. And for that, he is not allowed to monetize his video because that's a form of punishment by YouTube for the crime of hate speech. I'm sorry, is it no longer okay to be intolerant of intolerance? Do we have to tolerate intolerance? Because she wasn't being tolerant to that man. And Philip DeFranco wasn't tolerating her behavior, so he called her out on it. But YouTube's not going to tolerate his intolerance towards her intolerance towards that man. Where does the cycle go? What's the chain of command here? Who gets to decide who is allowed to be intolerant towards who based on their either tolerance or intolerance? YouTube has a legal right to do this. Absolutely they do. But I'll get back to the morality of what YouTube is doing. People make their livelihood on YouTube. YouTube has expanded far beyond what it originally was. YouTube is a place where people go to work. Some people, not all, but some people make their entire living on YouTube, and they're able to live comfortably and happy lives. When you make it so that people who are just doing their job, who are working, who are expressing their ideas, doing what they love, and you're going to make it that much more difficult to do their job. Now, I understand when you are a creator on YouTube that it is their company. You don't own YouTube. But morally speaking, it seems very wrong to me that the people who are bringing traffic to YouTube, who are making you money, who are working for you without a secure line of payment. The people who work on YouTube don't have security. Because at any second, you could decide, I don't like what you have to say. You may be bringing when I'm saying you, I'm referring to the content creators. We may be bringing you all this traffic. We may be bringing you all this money. But you're going to spit in our faces and say that because we don't like what you have put out there, we are going to economically punish you. It doesn't matter if you have a family that you need to support. It doesn't matter if this is actually a valuable source of income for you. We don't like what you do. We are going to punish you. Now, YouTube has that right. But YouTube should know that it will come to a point where the people who are making you money, your employees, will speak out against you. And we're already seeing that. People who are YouTubers, who are fed up with the system, are speaking out. Now, I don't know what the solution is because right now, there isn't another online video site like this. There isn't a place where people come to share their videos in this way, and certainly not to this extent. There isn't that much competition. And that's why you, YouTube, think you can get away with whatever you want. Because in a certain way, you can. But it will come to a point where someone who has the means, the financial means, but also the moral integrity, will try to correct this by opening their own business, their own site, and having the people who you spat on move over to there. And they will get the traffic. It's time to change YouTube. You can't do this to your content creators. Philip DeFranco is a man who brings a lot of traffic to YouTube. But you're going to tell him that because he said something that you didn't like, that you're not going to reward him for what he's doing for you for free. I will say, one good thing might come out of this. Dave Rubin saw Philip DeFranco's tweet, and he invited him on the show, and I would love that because I like these two guys, and I would like to see them have a conversation. To the higher-ups at YouTube, I doubt you're going to see this video. I am just one YouTuber with 780-something subscribers. I'm not big. I don't have a lot of outreach. I don't have a lot of power. I'm someone who is about to go to college, and I'm facing a huge mountain ahead of me. Huge! And it would have been nice. It would have been really nice to have had an extra source of income to help pay for my education, to make us a smarter, more civilized society where, the more education you have, the better the society. But I'm not going to I'm not going to censor myself. I'm going to, as Philip said, I'm not going to censor myself. Even if it costs me money that I need. Not that I'm making much money now, but any potential money. I don't care if speaking freely is going to cost me economically. It's not important to me. I mean, it's somewhat important to being able to provide for myself, but it's not my main goal for being here. YouTube is really something different. It's not like any other company. It's a company that's completely, in a sense, run by its audience. The creators make YouTube. The CEOs do not make YouTube. We make YouTube. Now, I'm a very, very small part of that. I'm not a big YouTuber. But we as a whole, the entire YouTubing community, we make your company. We make you your money. Never forget that. If I was a woman with more time and more connections and more influence, I would call every single one of your sponsors and I would compile a list. And if they don't want to be advertising because of the content of the videos, when it's really harmless content, for the most part, what Philip did was harmless. In fact, I would say what he did was even morally correct, criticizing someone who was so horrible to another human being. If they refuse to be a part of that, then I would call them and I would personally ask them, do you object to this content? And if you do, I'm going to put it on a list. Why not? Put it on a list. Put that list out there. If I was a woman with power, that's what I would do. And I just wouldn't use that company anymore. A company doesn't have to support the concept of free speech. They're not obliged to. There's no legal requirement for companies to respect our free speech. But I believe in the power of the purse, and we, as the consumers, we can just say, fine, that's your right. You don't want to support free speech? That's fine. That's fine. I will take my business elsewhere. And maybe that's what's going to have to happen to you. Because it's not about you. It's about us.